Hello indie game fans, I do love me some action-adventure titles inspired by classic Zelda games, so here's a look at some upcoming pixel art games in the genre, beginning with Eastward. This game has appeared on many a pixel art games video and looks absolutely wonderful, since it has you playing as an unlikely duo in a world where society has begun to collapse and the deadly mutating toxin has slowly begun to spread. This leads to the inclusion of mutant bugs and enemies, but I'm just so very impressed with the beautiful pixel art and the remarkable amount of detail. This one simply screams classic Zelda with the 8-bit excellent Dawn Fawn. It has 9 dungeons, item-driven real-time combat, puzzles, a continuous overworld and so on, where you play as a young archetypal hero aiming to right a great wrong. Not much more in terms of the description, but the action alone makes me want to play.
And in itself can create a heaven of hell, or a hell of heaven.
This one has a religious theme where you play as the fallen angel Lucifer, who seeks vengeance on God and heaven itself. However, this version of heaven has been twisted, with malicious archangels as the bosses, so an inversion of traditional ideas.
Following an unwise heretic like you to hell. That's servitude.
More combat focused more than anything, great art and some Souls-like influence as well. Another pretty classic looking title is Tiara the Deceiving Crown, where you play as a brave knight on an age-old quest to rescue the princess. Since we last saw Hunt the Knight, this gothic action-adventure game was successfully funded on Kickstarter and development has begun in earnest. Playing as a member of the Stalkers, hunt down massive, galaxy-threatening bosses while exploiting and controlling your inner darkness as well. Steady progress has been made with frequent updates on Kickstarter. Although this developer has been affected by COVID, they are still targeting a release in the first half of 2021. One very cool aspect is that they are making the pixel art even better, so this one's high on my list. One very neat title which many of you compared to Hyper Light Drifter is the Brazilian-made Prisma Light, with an interesting combination of modern day, fantasy and futuristic elements. The imagination of our protagonist perhaps factors into this, but another beautiful one to check out. This was a little bit strange since Mystica had a Kickstarter campaign earlier this year, and midway through that campaign, announced that they were completely overhauling the art style from extreme minimalism like the Cock to what you see right now. A procedurally generated one of these, I'm making an exception for this since I do like how it looks. Another gorgeous game which I have my eye on is Ada, where you explore an open world, encounter vicious enemies while trying to uncover the mystery of the disappearance of your sisters. In terms of the movement, this does remind me of Hyper Light Drifter but fantasy, with very fluid animations and some impressive details in the environments. This squeaked in and got fully funded on Kickstarter, and development seems to be on track. Another smaller title with awesome looking pixel art is Ariata of Spirits, where you play as a young girl visiting the cabin of your grandmother, who then discovers the spirit realm and goes about trying to uncover its mysteries. I've mentioned before that the scale of things seem to be a little off, with the character being too large in comparison to the trees, but quite a stylized game that does look good. One of the most impressive in-development games in the genre is Aether, another open-world entry which was funded on Kickstarter but has a much more ambitious structure since you can specialize in different weapons, learn magic from different schools, craft weapons and equipment, and so on. I adore the look of this, with a lot more RPG elements, so perhaps not quite Zelda, but fantastic nonetheless. I love the idea of the swashbuckling life of a pirate, so of course, Cleo, A Pirate's Tale appeals to me. In addition to the action-adventure gameplay, this does include puzzle elements from classic point-and-click adventure games as well, but a nice mix of genres with pretty visuals.
What place does such selfless resolve come from? No one should be able to do the things that you do. The ancients doomed this land to its watery fate. But you make your own fate.
The 16-bit spectacular Hazelnut Bastille is the companion title to Dawnthorn, covered earlier, both somehow being simultaneously developed by the same studio. In a very similar way, these two games are the same type of game but with a significantly different art style.
Why has the Dawnthorn, nature's own blade, chosen you? I cannot say there is hope, but that sword is the might of heaven. It knows the way through the ancient vaults and is equal to any foe. Let it guide you to the place this all began and steal back our future.
I believe that the two games are somehow linked as well, so there should be an interesting connecting thread, but this absolutely nails the look that they are going for. Covered Toasty in my new trailer series since it was in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign, but the developers decided to take that down since raising funds for a video game in the middle of a global pandemic is perhaps not the best idea. This has you playing as a marshmallow knight, which looks adorable, so look out for it as it continues in development. I too have covered Unsighted before, but this sci-fi action-adventure game continues to look great with, I believe, some updated visuals since we saw it last. Another one with more RPG elements in stats, leveling and equipment. Perhaps this falls closer on the cross-code end of things, but impressive character art in the cutscenes. The semi-pixel art title Mayhem in Single Valley mixes pixel art with 3D assets, but manages to make it work, having quite a strong showing through its prologue demo. Radioactive waste has made the local wildlife rabid and hostile, so you have to balance combating them while trying to lead your life as a normal teen. The brutal action-adventure game There Is No Light also made quite a splash with its demo, promising grotesque enemies and fast-paced, intense action. Some of you may have caught the news that the long-anticipated Garden Story got officially delayed to 2021, where you play as a grape designated as the island protector and must stop the rot. Lovely combination of action-adventure and farming sim. I love both of these genres, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. The Japanese-themed Outrider Mako has you playing as a courier for some supernatural creatures and has an interesting jumping mechanic on top of the action-adventure combat. Fell in love with this game when I came across it, since Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion is just so adorable, with quite an interesting title as well. This does remind me of Minute, which in turn was Zelda inspired, so a cute and quirky one to keep an eye on. For people in the know, the news that Radio the Universe finally got a Steam page was absolutely massive, since this long in development title, kickstarted in 2013, was in the territory of vaporware in the past few years. It is absolutely gorgeous, with impressive looking combat and even the ability to jump. I've been aware of this game for a couple of years, managing to stumble upon it when my channel was still new, and have been saving it for the right time. And even now, it has an unclear winter release date, so we'll see, but pretty excited for this, taking the #1 spot. To see more of the big picture, check out these awesome videos, and I will see you after the jump.